All right.
All right, we're
Hey,
ready, I think.
hey,
All right, good morning again.
hey, good morning.
You can
All
hear him
right.
okay, Mike? Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, this is
All
good.
right. Well, good morning. They can hear you, so that's the most
Oh, good.
important thing.
Yeah,
Why don't you again introduce yourself?
sure.
I'll share to my page, but yeah, introduce yourself and
Yeah. I'm Scott Todd. I born in Iowa, um, and pretty much lived here most of my life. I lived in California for a few years, going to school, but moved back, and
Mhm.
so this is where we're at. Quite different than California, but
Yeah.
it is what it is for the time being. But so we started precision insulation and coatings about almost 2 years ago, and it's been doing pretty well for
Hmm.
not like spending crazy money on marketing. Initially
Right.
I was, but um, initially I was spending quite a bit. At some points, maybe even, I mean, to me, $1,000 a month was quite a bit, but
Hmm.
that's in the very beginning when you're trying to get your name out there.
Hmm.
And you've got a lot of competitors and stuff, but so yeah, it's been interesting to
I
say the
was gonna
least.
say
Yeah,
you do a good job on your page. Like I
yeah,
know we've worked a little bit together, but
yeah,
like even before that you do a good job on your
yeah.
social media stuff for sure.
Oh yeah, you've helped us out. Mike Circa's been huge in helping on the website stuff. Josh
Hmm.
Kottner. I once I found Josh as was an insurance guy. I like called him almost like right away when I figured out he was insurance, and
Hmm.
loved that guy from day one. He's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and then he was just kind of telling me stuff on internet stuff, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know all this, and so he's been a pretty good help as well. I mean,
Yeah,
very helpful.
I
So
think what people don't know about Josh is a lot more than just insurance.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's got a lot of things happening and he's got a
yeah,
lot of he's a yeah, he's a
yeah. I love
guy
that
full of
guy.
a lot of different ideas and just good stuff for sure.
Yeah,
So,
love that guy. He's
yeah,
been pretty good. So, but
right.
this was I come from a family of pilots. Like my family
Oh,
is
okay.
um, were crop dusters.
Oh, okay.
So my grandpa started an airport back in the late '60s with a
Mhm.
little two-seater airplane. As he started his own crop dusting service between his regular job, which turned into a pretty decent-sized airport. I mean, it was
Mhm.
at one point, they had 22 airplanes, and three of those were 11 passenger charter planes.
Mhm.
And so it was pretty interesting growing up on an airport.
Oh, I bet.
So it's
So I guess you have your pilot's license.
yeah,
Yeah.
pilots and instrument commercial. I didn't go into the multi-engine ratings and instructor stuff because about that time, you know, uh, about the time I got my commercial rating, uh, the family kind of started going their own direction.
Mm. Mhm.
Since my grandpa died in the late '90s, things kind of went kind of downhill. Everybody had
Yeah.
different ideas and stuff. So,
Right.
you know, I do have instrument commercial. That's helpful, and I can see that coming into use later for doing different stuff.
Mhm.
With maybe
Yeah.
like ministry or whatever. But yeah, I should be flying an airplane, but I'm not.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
some,
interesting. So
that's crazy.
how did you make the switch from that into spray foam and
Uh,
lifting? You also
yeah,
do
concrete
lifting?
lifting and yeah, and so really, when I bought the house that we're living in now
Mhm.
about 10 years ago, it it didn't have, and it was a fairly new house. Like it was only
Mhm.
like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and but they built an addition onto it that didn't have insulation in the crawl space. And and it was always, freezing. So I had a pretty big company come and spray it with foam.
Yeah.
It was looking back, I didn't know anything about foam. I just thought, oh, it's spray foam, it's good to go. Well, they put
Mhm.
open cell in my crawl space. So an
Oh,
open
okay.
cell foam in the crawl space is it's not the best idea because they can be wet,
I was going to say,
and
so
yeah,
because people watch this that don't
yeah,
understand the
yeah.
industry, why is that an issue? What is the
Moisture, yeah, moisture. Even though there's plastic down on the floor, I mean, even though it's been spray foamed and I've got plastic on the floor and it's sealed to the
Mhm.
walls, the floor still gets wet. There's moisture down there, and I've taken pictures of some of the damaged foam, some of the foam that
Right.
didn't adhere to
Mhm.
the crawl space, and as homeowners, they don't know that. They don't know what it's supposed to be or what things are supposed to look like. They just
Right.
um,
And that's kind of what
pay
I've
the
always,
bill.
that's what I
Yeah.
also like about when you guys come on here and talk about this, because it gives you guys a chance to kind of explain and help educate
Hmm.
people in knowing what they should and shouldn't put into their
Yeah.
homes,
Yeah.
because people just don't know.
No, and that's
There's,
that's one of the things. It was, I mean, it worked. I mean, the
mhm.
spray foam, the insulation's working. It's um,
Right,
we noticed a difference immediately, but the product is just the wrong product for the application. But
right.
it is what it is. I can fix it as I need to because I
And
got
so
my own.
that's what made you get
Yeah,
interested in wanting to do that.
the really just fascinated with how efficient spray foam is and the
Hmm.
performance of it, but then also the science behind it. Like it's not just um, the performance as much as I like science. I'm no math whiz or chemistry whiz, but um,
Yeah.
I do understand some of that stuff and
Hmm.
thought it was interesting. And then of course I've always wanted to own my own business. And since the aviation thing wasn't going the way that I was trying to go, I mean, I do
Hmm.
have my own crop duster. It's, disassembled in the corner of a hangar,
Right. Yeah.
but the cost to put that thing together, I mean, I would have had 100,000 into the airplane, and then the insurance, um, that's another 15,000 just for maybe a few months of work, you know
Wow.
and I didn't have any like guaranteed work like my dad does. Like
Hmm.
he's pretty well got a reputation from 40 years, and so he didn't really have enough work for me to be involved with it as well. So I
Right.
just started my own thing, and but in starting this up, like
Hmm.
I I was doing a lot of reading and stuff, and before I bought my equipment or picked it up, I went to training under Dudley for polyurea,
Right.
and spent a week through his course, in his polyurea course, and that was amazing. The guy's brilliant and very
Hmm.
thorough, and it was a really good experience. And then after his class, I went and picked up my equipment, and when I got home shortly after, I did some stuff up with IDI at their main headquarters
Oh,
in
okay.
Minnesota, and
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to see what's going on there. And
Hmm.
then, um, and then I think a month or so later, I went out to SPI in Washington to get involved with the
Oh, did
concrete
you?
lifting.
Oh,
Yeah, and
okay.
so
Hmm.
it wasn't like a full-blown course, but they accommodated me just to come out and
Right.
work with them. So it was really cool. So I spent a lot of time trying to train before I like do stuff for people
Right.
because I wanted to do it right. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't just start a spray foam business and collect a check. It was
Right.
it was I had a dream to own my own business and and then maybe in my slow season be able to do like mission stuff, which we've done in the past.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so hopefully, uh, that's we can continue to do that in our
Right.
slow season. Last year I did. I went down to Louisiana
Hmm.
for some disaster relief. It was actually the same time the SPFA thing was going, the convention. So um, it was going on in the same time as the SPFA, but so I
I
missed that
don't,
one.
yeah, I don't know that I don't think I knew that you did mission work.
Yeah, and that's yeah, do stuff like that. Well, I went about 5 or 6 years ago. I was over in Africa and
Oh,
um,
okay.
with uh, um, a ministry over there. They were putting a runway in so that they could have an airplane come, based out of their um,
Hmm.
basically their houses were right there too, and other buildings. And so I got the runway ready to go, and we test flew the plane off the runway. It was actually pretty cool, and
Yeah.
so we did that, and we've been to Brazil and Sao Paulo doing some inner
Oh,
city stuff.
wow.
That was probably, let's see, that was probably about 9 years ago. We went to
Hmm.
Brazil. That was
Right.
pretty interesting, but
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's
so
what,
yeah,
so you've been doing ministry work for a while then?
yeah, yeah, doing some things here and there, and hopefully continue to do with some things with the disaster relief.
Hmm.
Samaritan Purse does a lot of stuff um,
Yes.
with disaster relief, and that's what I did in Louisiana. Was down there with them. That was pretty neat.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
so
I think it's good when you can combine what you do for your
yeah,
like for work
yeah,
along with that. So
yeah.
I've forgotten Lighthouse
Patrick Mahoney. Yeah,
Patrick Mahoney. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
his first
yeah,
name's escaped me, but yeah,
yeah.
he was on a while ago. But yeah,
Yeah,
you guys are connected, right?
yeah. He came out to
Right.
do some concrete lifting and then went home and added that to his service.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, he just did a basement floor that had settled, and he lifted that up quite a ways again, and he's pretty confident with it and
Yeah.
getting that going. But it's kind of coming to the end of the season for concrete lifting. But yeah, it was good to meet him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think some of the people that are thinking about starting up a spray foam business,
Mm-hmm.
um, it would be good to connect with Patrick and also Manish Joshi. They're
Right. Yeah.
very business minded, um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's huge in startup is understanding it's not just your equipment cost. It's knowing what you're doing, but then also understanding the overhead involved.
Right.
When you're thinking, oh, okay, I got the equipment, and I can just go out and spray a job, and then you've got plastic, tape, staples, like you've got all
Mm-hmm.
these other things that maybe you didn't think about. I mean,
Right.
and so I try to record everything for each job, like everything right down to um, how many tear-offs I use on my mask, or you
Oh,
know,
okay.
yeah, because a tear-off, that's about $1 or more per tear-off, it seems like.
Right.
And that's an expense. You need to know how much, the job is costing you. I record my generator hours, air compressor hours, hours on the proportioner. I just record everything so that I know
Mm-hmm.
that what I'm actually making. If you're just looking at how much the foam cost per
Right.
job, that's not doing business. Business is doing you, and you're just collecting a check. That's my
Right.
reputation was so much more important than collecting the check that I spent hours on Spray Foam Worldwide reading problems and troubleshooting and success
Mm-hmm.
and what temperatures people were using with and what the ambient conditions were and what foam they were spraying and just what
Right.
application they were using.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much more than me just wanting to go out and make all this money. um, it was more of me wanting to own my own and business, work for myself, and use my downtime to contribute back.
Right.
Um, and which is what I was able to do this last spring. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, on the way down to uh, Louisiana, I stopped and visited with Dudley a little bit. That guy,
Right.
I can't get enough of that guy. That
I
guy,
know
I love that guy.
you've talked about that before, and I
Yeah,
know you're pretty passionate about that
yeah,
whole part of
yeah,
the industry. So
yeah.
yeah, it's
And well, the thing is because it's with the coatings and polyurea, it's so much more important to really have the training and
hmm
understand. I mean, it's not just about temperatures and pressures. It's about if you're spraying concrete, what's the tensile strength of the concrete? You know, what kind of
Mm,
adhesion are you going to get out of it? Is it putting off any gas or moisture? Like in
mhm.
sewage containment, you know, it can be putting off gases, you know,
Right.
and just knowing the quality of the concrete. And, you know, some people that I've met that have already spraying it, not from around here. I mean, you know, I don't really know anybody around me. Lynn Meether, he's
Mm-hmm.
in Western Iowa. He sprays it, but
Yeah.
he knows what's going on. I trust that guy. Like and you know, but I've met some people that really just get material and spray it, and then they wonder why it's going wrong. Or I ask them, well, how did you prep the job?
Yeah.
And and they're like, I just pressure washed it. And I said, that's all you did?
Yeah.
I didn't say it. Didn't have the heart to tell them they're going to go back and redo it. But you
Right.
know,
And
I just like, yeah, it's crazy. You
it's
know,
kind of that old thing like we talk about this all the time on here actually with people is you see the posts that come up in there, they're going to start the business, what do they need to know, and people get
yeah,
on there and they're just like don't do it and all this stuff, but I mean it's really the education, like you
yeah,
have to get educated, you can't
yeah,
just okay, we're going to buy a rig and let's go.
yeah.
There's a
It's
lot more
it's
to it.
there is a lot more to it, and that's where I think Patrick Mahoney and Manish
Mhm.
Joshi have a really good understanding of running a business.
Yeah.
Um, it's not just about what your material costs and how much you're charging. It's so much more than that. And I know Patrick's has offered for people to come out and see what a successful business looks like. And
Right.
I think he's running a pretty successful business. And same with Manish.
Hmm.
He's good. He's good as well. But yeah, the coding side is more where my heart is. I quit pretty much. I pretty much quit advertising on spray foam
Mm-hmm.
because I have 40 or no, I have 20 competitors within 40 minutes of a drive, and so
Wow.
I feel like that's pretty saturated. There's a lot of building going on,
Hmm.
but I'm also struggling with people selling cheap, and then
Right.
they're also selling. We're climate zone 5, so they're selling open cell. Okay, well, that's fine, but let's do it in the right application. But they're
Hmm.
selling 3 to 5 inches on metal buildings. Okay, we have 7 metal buildings and they all leak, you know. And when
Yeah.
they leak, what do you think is going to happen to that open cell? It's just going to
Right.
absorb.
Right.
It's gonna act like a sponge, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and one of our buildings has this vinyl-backed fiberglass insulation hanging on the ceiling and on the walls.
Yeah.
And when it leaks, it holds water. So my dad was up there shooting it with a pellet gun to drain it because they're pretty high. The ceiling's pretty high,
Yeah.
And and then you have to get up there and figure out where it's leaking or coat the roof. Put a
Yeah.
roof coating on it. I mean, if you're gonna spray that kind of foam on there, it, at least coat the roof. Make sure
Right.
there's going to be no leaking. And then
Hmm.
by that point, you're better off just spraying a closed cell foam. But
Right.
like I said, people around here they want to sell product cheap, and they're out to. And I don't know if part of that problem is they've got a rig payment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Out of all those competitors, I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 of them that started up about the same time that I did. And I didn't even know about one of them until a few weeks ago. He was selling his rig just a few miles away. you
Really.
know? Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think the reason that I'm not just another statistic is I don't have a rig payment, you know?
Ah,
And I've
that's
worked,
yeah,
yeah,
that's huge.
I've worked 20 years before I did this, and
Hmm.
so had I not had some other money, you know,
Hmm.
I would have been another statistic too because there is a lot of competition. And yeah, it's knowing how to sell yourself, but it's also, you know, some of these other companies are established and they've got word of mouth. And when you don't know anybody in the construction industry or you don't have any connections that way, and you start from
Hmm.
scratch knowing you don't know anybody, then
Right.
that's the biggest hang up. So
Well, and I think when there's that many people doing the same thing in your area, you have to
Yeah,
really have something that sets you apart from the rest. It can't, I
yeah,
know prices, like it's all driven, it gets driven by price, and that's hard to overcome, but you have to be able to offer something
yeah,
else,
and educate
as,
them.
yeah. And so, you know, by doing the coatings or the lifting and that
Yeah,
kind of thing, you've got other things that you
yeah,
can offer
other
too.
venues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then once they work with you,
Mhm.
you know, then price,
Yeah,
that's when price becomes a bit of a, it's not as the main focus, is when
yeah,
they finally get to work with you and see how you work and,
yeah,
what you do,
yeah.
then price becomes a little bit different.
They see that the quality is different. But
Right.
yeah, so it's been an interesting first couple of years. Um,
Yeah, I bet. But
and
that's
so
it. I didn't so 20, you've worked for 20 years before you decided to do this.
yeah,
So that
I
makes a huge difference too.
yeah, just doing whatever,
Yeah.
and always setting money aside. But
Hmm.
um, I knew I didn't want to finance when I got into
Right.
this
Yeah.
because you're thinking finance, well then you're stuck, with a payment, and if you
Right.
don't have any work, then what?
Yeah.
Then what you're doing is you're trying to sell cheap just to get a rig payment.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
Um,
discourage people from getting into the business. It's just that
hmm.
please do your homework and know what you're doing before you do it. Like when I
Right.
pulled the trigger on somebody's house, I was like, okay, this foam looks good. This
Hmm.
is good quality foam. This isn't me just going in there and winging it.
Right.
You know, you know.
Yeah. I think you have watched a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk as well. I think you and I have talked about that before, but he talks about that it's the long it's the
Long
long
haul.
game,
Yeah,
right? So I was watching a thing with him, and he was talking to a kid that was like 22 or whatever, and the kid's saying, "Oh no, I'm not like spending my money, I'm saving my money." And he goes, "Good, do that for another 12 more years." Like you
yeah,
keep, and they're like, they just kind of think like, because everybody wants that fast, I'm going to make all
yeah,
this money and it's going to be this and that, and it's not. That
yeah.
isn't how business
It's not
is.
how it works. Yeah,
Right? I mean, there might be some out there that can jump in and all of a sudden it's just wonderful, but
it's just booming.
it's
Yeah,
hard. Like
I
this industry is not easy.
it's not easy. But
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to go out there and make all this crazy money. I'd be happy with just spraying a few
Mhm.
jobs a month just to do it. And then
Right.
that's it. I don't have to make millions. I
Right.
don't. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I think,
I want to make money, but I don't want to be like acting like I got to make ridiculous money.
yeah.
That's not what I believed it was going to be.
But I also think too, what you do is you give back as well. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of the mentality of that is a
yeah,
very smart business minded person, because
yeah,
the more you give back, you're going to get back. Like
yeah.
that's how it works. So
So yeah,
I think it's good.
it's Samaritan's Purse.
Hmm.
There's there's another uh, uh, Freedom. Oh, what the heck is it? It's basically helping girls come out of sex trafficking.
Oh,
Then
okay.
there's Compassion International,
Hmm.
just stuff like that. And so one of the things I did a blog post on my website. It was about the different things that we try to be involved in, and the point of it is when you hire precision, you're helping the
Hmm.
world, locally as well as internationally, because there's a bigger picture. It's not just
Right.
about me and collecting a check. My reputation is a lot more important than collecting money for a house that I sprayed. I want to put
Right.
out good work that people are happy with,
Yeah.
and that I don't have to worry about, them coming back at me saying, "Hey, this is wrong. You need to fix
Hmm.
it." So
Yeah.
that's part of the whole thing about, training and
Hmm.
studying what the troubleshooting is on Spray Foam Worldwide. Like I spent hours and hours reading those posts and
Right.
hours on phone calls with, John Benoit out of Louisiana,
Hmm.
um, I remember calling Bill Bilbin, Robert Vasquez, and
Yeah.
on some of these jobs before I really got going.
Hmm.
Um, just a lot of people that I didn't know. I was just calling them.
So how did you find Worldwide?
I think it was the spray foam equipment and manufacturing. They told me about it, and I'm like, man, I don't want Facebook, man. I was like, I've had that
Yeah.
before. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when I went to SPI, they're like, man, you need to get on there. And so Jeremy Edwards is like, dude, get on Spray Foam Worldwide. And
Yeah.
so I did while I was out there. And then I spent hours on it,
Yes, we all
while I
can
was
get
there,
lost for hours on there.
you know. But
Yeah, and Steve Gould, I just saw his comment pop up here. He says create a lifestyle business.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I'm on. I can see
Yeah,
the
you can't see
comments,
the
but
comments. Yeah,
no.
I've just his are coming up. That's the ones I can see. But um, going back to Worldwide, I've always said that's like being in school without having to go to school.
Yeah, it saved me a lot of problems. It
Hmm.
saved me a lot of headaches, and I think also in running a business, you need that digital venue. You need to have Facebook incorporated into your digital footprint because I've
Hmm.
landed a $20,000 job off of a $50 ad.
Right.
It wasn't even related to what I mean. It was for concrete lifting, but it
Hmm.
was insulating a house. You know,
Right.
and so that was interesting how that
I
happened. But
I worked with somebody too that it was remarkable that it was a very short concrete lifting video, like a time lapse video.
yeah,
And I think in total spent was $60 on that
yeah,
ad.
hmm
And I mean, it ended up there was however many jobs came out of that. It was crazy. It was the first time I had seen
hmm
that work like that. And I thought, oh my, like
yeah,
everybody that's doing lifting needs to do that because they need to
yeah,
do those
time
time
lapse,
lapse and because
yeah,
it gives people in a minute and 30 seconds
yeah,
start to finish.
yeah. I've
And
landed some pretty good stuff from it too.
yeah, they
hmm
really do. They really, really work. So
Yeah, because it shows an immediate result, and I've
yes.
got a lot of competition for that here as well. I've got
Hmm.
at least two or three different mud jacking companies, and then maybe three or four different companies that do foam injection. So
Right.
it seems like I got a lot of competition with that too.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know.
This is a question I've wanted to ask people because I know somebody's watching and they don't know the difference. So can you tell us what the difference between mud jacking and concrete lifting is?
Yeah, so it's concrete lifting can they've got different methods, and one of them is foam injection, and then the other one is like where they're mud jacking it with, and they're putting either cement or some kind of fly ash or something under there, or
Hmm.
I don't know, grouting, like grout. Uh,
Hmm.
there's- I actually have a brochure that shows the differences and the difference between that and foam. Like foam weighs, maybe a couple pounds, um, a few pounds per cubic foot or whatever, and the mud jacking is, hundreds of pounds. So
Hmm.
if it's not if there's problems under there, it's also contributing to, weight. It's a heavier product. It's, potentially contributing to more settling. But, with foam, you can do deeper injections. You can go down and fill voids in the soil even.
Hmm.
And so it's pretty interesting. Deep soil, void filling and stuff like that
Yeah,
with
I
foam.
think I think too. I know here, like every time I'm walking somewhere, I look down at the sidewalk and I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
this could be fixed. And I was inside a grocery store, but they have like a deli so you can sit in there and you can eat and have a bite to eat or whatever. And I'm watching this guy and he's got like a crowbar and a piece of like
Yeah.
styrofoam. And
Oh
I'm like,
man.
Oh my word. So I said when I walked by, I'm like, you guys should look at having somebody come in and doing like some concrete lifting for you, like that can be repaired. And he was so mad, like already. And then I stepped in, not being like, I wasn't trying to be a smart ass, but
Yeah,
he's like, oh, everybody's just so knowledgeable, or I forget what he said, but
yeah.
he was not happy with my comment.
Oh,
But I'm like, yeah, you guys should have somebody come in and
there's
do that.
solutions. Yeah,
Yeah. And
there's
I don't think
solutions.
people realize that you can actually fix that.
Yeah,
That can be a repair.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
have
It's
to be a, you know,
tear the whole yard
jackhammer.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, tear the whole yard up and everything else just to
Right.
um. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's been pretty interesting to say the least.
Right. So what
Last
would
couple
you
years.
say would be probably some of the biggest lessons you've learned in the last 2 years since you've had the business?
Um. Yeah. Well, it's always good to know the market, and I thought I knew the market. And
Mhm.
when I was looking into it, knowing um, how many competitors I would have for foam, but
Mhm.
that changed as I was getting into it. There were more people getting into it as well. So just really knowing the market. Had I known how much I was going to put into this whole business, I mean, it probably would have scared me off, and I'd still be doing whatever,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't have probably got into it. But it's rewarding. I got a lot more home time. There's more freedom. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Just really knowing the market and knowing how to to make connections really with other contractors and stuff. So
Mhm.
um, I've stumbled across some uh, other contractors just I think from my ads. They saw me on Facebook and they started giving me referrals. And so as a
Oh,
result, I was
okay.
able to give referrals back to them. So
Mhm.
the digital footprint is huge.
Right.
Knowing how to market what you're doing.
Mhm.
And then another thing is like people wanting to get into spray foam. I mean, I feel like if that's all you're going to do for an income, you better have deep pockets because like or connections or jobs that you've got lined up and
Mhm.
know how to do those jobs because just solely just depending on spray foam is kind of not very smart. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like that with unless you're in an area where there's virtually no competition, then you'll succeed. But if you've got competition, you better have other plans,
Right.
you know. And thank God I don't have a rig payment, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's a
Yeah,
huge thing. I think people get into those, like, you can get the rig and you get the 3 days worth of training and away you
yeah,
go. And that sounds great, but the
yeah,
reality then will kick in, right?
yeah, yeah. You got to have the work and really know what you're doing because
Hmm.
one job can put you out of business, you know.
Right.
And I knew that too. I'm like, okay, I need to know what I'm doing before I do
Hmm.
this. And so
Right.
I sprayed my garage and figured out some things, and then I felt like that was helpful. Just
Hmm.
doing some of my own stuff and
Yeah.
practice on my own stuff, but
Well,
it's
and I guess we should also talk about, is this job a little bit physically challenging?
it's not too bad. It is a lot. Yeah,
Hmm.
it'll work you out.
Yeah.
It'll make you tired. I've always had manual labor jobs,
Hmm.
um so getting into this, I'm like, wow, this is hard work.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and so I get to a job, I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like
Right.
long term, I'm thinking, oh crap. Um,
Yeah. But
but
you
it's
recent,
not too bad.
but you did, was it you that you thought you broke your nose?
Yeah, well, yeah, I broke
That,
my nose when I was actually switching over. I think it was between open and closed cell because I had a
yeah.
small close or open cell application, and but between that, I was moving some things around, and a board came up and smacked me across the face as I was pulling on this. Yeah,
Mhm.
snapped it. Blood was everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
And then you
and
just
then
thought you broke your hand.
Yeah, and that was a few days ago. So a few days ago,
Yeah.
I was doing a basement crawl space,
Hmm.
um, and I was going down to get my garbage can. I had a garbage can down there, and I just wanted to pick it up, take some pictures,
Hmm.
and I slipped on these steps. There weren't really steps. It was almost like more of like a ladder, and I slipped on this
Yeah.
thing going down in there. And you know those doors, they fold down like on those old school basements. They fold down on the outside, you know.
Right.
That's what it was. And so when I
Oh,
went to catch myself, I grabbed where the door closes, and the door came
yeah.
down on my hand, and I heard all this crunching. I'm like, oh no.
Oh,
So, oh no, man.
ouch.
And I just gave it a minute, and but it was just some blood and some skin missing, but
Hmm.
I think it was just knuckles popping, you know.
Right. And you
And
you also had was it an attic with bats? That was
yes,
you as
that
well,
was that
wasn't
was
it?
disgusting. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's like
But
you don't,
but
not every job is nice and clean and away you
no,
go.
I had yeah. It
Yeah.
was there was piles of it up there, and some of my video didn't catch all of the
Hmm.
catch it all, but yeah, that was an interesting job. We actually built our own vacuum because new vacuums, you can spend, on a whole
Yeah.
setup, you can spend $8,000 on a really good machine, and I'm like,
Hmm.
for something I'm going to use maybe once in a while, that I can't justify spending $6,000 or $8,000 on something
Right.
that I spent, that I've used so far twice, you know,
Hmm.
and I'm like, man, you know,
Yeah.
that's not worth it. So we just built one,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and it works pretty well.
Yeah.
That's I did my own attic. Actually, I have two attics, and then I did that one with the bat crap in it.
Yeah, so I
That
think
was
that's the
something
other
else.
thing people don't realize when you are doing and working in this industry is the different things that you will find
Yeah,
and be
yeah,
involved in
yeah,
attics and crawl
yeah.
spaces.
Or mice
There's,
jumping out at you. That actually startled me the other day. I was spraying that basement, and a mouse jumped out. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
yeah,
You know? But
I see a lot of pictures with snakes and that I don't
yeah,
know. Like I think I'd be out if there were snakes.
yeah. I'm not I'm
Yeah.
not big on the snake thing either. But
So Lynn Mether is saying, Scott, you just
yeah.
taught me another thing. Don't go on a coffee with Carla. She'll tell all my embarrassing stories.
Hey, that's you should be on there, Lynn. Yeah,
Lynn, come on.
he's
I
been
don't know
around
any
for
embarrassing
years.
stories.
He's been spraying foam for I think at least 12 years.
He'd
He
have to
needs
tell
to.
his own
Yeah, he's got
embarrassing
good stories.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got good stories. Yeah,
Well, if he's going to the convention in February, I'll get some stories
yeah.
behind the scenes, and then I'll have
Lynn
some
will be there.
ammo.
I think he's going to bring his family.
Hmm.
Lynn will be there. I hope to see that Nate Millman, I think, is going to go. I
Yeah.
think Patrick, I think we're going to get connected out there, and he's going to come out for a couple days.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be there anyways. January and February, you know that
Hmm.
winter sucks.
Yeah.
I think winter sucks, and I'm not opposed
Hmm.
to going to a warmer climate. Last year, I just kind of I took the slower months. And like I said, I went on that trip with Samaritan's Purse Disaster Relief.
Hmm.
But I'm not opposed to leaving in January and February. And there's a
Yeah.
friend I have out in California that, um, I might be able to spray without just pull my stuff out there and work with him, hopefully. Um, I think he's busy enough to where he can support putting a second rig out there.
This will be your first convention, like first
Yeah,
SPFA? Yeah?
yeah, and that's because last year I was doing that disaster relief, but
Right.
um, and the week before the SPFA, the SSPC is having their convention. Um, I think it's in Long Beach,
Oh, okay.
and that's for coatings, which I'm going to try to make that as well, since
Oh,
um,
okay.
that's where I'd rather be is on the coating side of it. But
Right.
um, so that's going to be interesting. Met some other contractors in California about a month or
Hmm.
two ago at a coatings conference, and Dudley was there.
Yeah.
what other reason not to, I mean,
Right. Why
it's a
wouldn't
good
you go
example.
if Dudley's there?
Yeah,
He
yeah, it's
was
a
just
great reason to go.
was he just in New Zealand or Australia or somewhere,
Australia,
wasn't he?
yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah,
that's
I pay
right.
attention. Yeah, I pay attention to what he's doing. But
Yeah.
and I contact him and
Hmm.
whatever. Just even if it's not about the industry, like you
Yeah.
gotta love the guy. He's just
Yeah.
you know.
I think it's true. This whole group, worldwide has connected so many people that you would have never even probably found or heard
Hmm.
of, and it makes those connections, and that's why people are still in business is because of
Yeah.
those people and those connections. I mean, we see it all the time where somebody's spent however long on the phone with
Hmm.
somebody, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's so cool that that's happened.
I agree. Spray foam worldwide. That helped me become successful. I mean, if it
Hmm.
wasn't for that, I probably would have just thrown in the towel and said, forget this, and then just
Yeah.
parked the rig. I would have said,
Right.
forget it. But Spray Foam Worldwide helped me be successful and
Hmm.
helped me to spray good product and really care about it.
Hmm.
Care about
Yeah.
putting out good material. And, really, yeah, it's priceless. So
It really is.
many thanks to the guys that put it together, and
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
can't
mean,
say enough good things about them.
yeah, look at all the things that are happening with the rig giveaways, the rescue rig
Yeah,
that's just come out. I mean, there's been so many things that would have never happened,
yeah, yeah.
It just wouldn't have. But
Just
um, I was going to ask you something about the team at SPI, because you mentioned that you went there, and
yeah,
I've actually had the pleasure of going to being around, and not like I wasn't signed up to their course, but I was there,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
got to spend kind of, I think it was just a day with them while they were doing
mhm,
some training, and just an incredible team there, like a good
yeah,
solid bunch of people, and just so
yeah.
helpful. And
They are.
Benji was there
Yeah,
when I
uh,
was down there, and Jeremy was there as well too, and the
yeah,
girls like Rebecca and Alicia and
mhm,
Palin and all the Chaz and everybody. It was a cool experience.
yeah. They're fantastic people,
Hmm.
and I am happy with their products, like
Yeah.
with their materials, and I just hope that that the chemical compositions don't change with the acquisition with Versaflex and Raven, but I plan on to continue to buy their stuff. I
Yeah.
like them. I like their team.
Hmm.
Great people. And I know a lot of people say some negative things about the spray foam and manufacturing and equipment, and but
Hmm.
those guys, at Boss have been great to me, and their equipment works. I mean it's been nothing but awesome for me. The Boss proportioners,
Hmm.
and I don't say that because I'm getting any kind of a kickback or anything like that. I mean
Yeah.
I say that because their equipment works, and
Hmm.
everything breaks down. I don't care if it's Graco, PMC. I don't care if
Right.
it's accurate. Everything is going to break at some point or it needs maintenance. I keep my stuff
Hmm.
clean, and I haven't had to do anything with it. I've had to
Right.
clean my guns. I just clean the spray guns up a lot. I mean, I've had to clean my drum pumps,
Hmm.
do some basic maintenance on those, but that they're that's another good team is the guys at Boss Spray Foam Equipment and Manufacturing.
Hmm.
And attitude is everything. Like if you're calling up for troubleshooting, I mean, being all pissed off and yelling and screaming isn't going to get you anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Just be cordial, be professional, man. Like if you're having a problem with something, I mean, don't be yelling at them.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, people, because they're frustrated, and they get that's that instant like
Oh
reaction, right? And
man,
it's, you got to dial it in, because you
And a
don't get
lot of
very
it's
far.
like operator error. I mean, I've had problems because of my own stupidity, and I'm like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Uh, And so, in those moments, what do you do but just ask questions.
Yeah.
And so everything is in the attitude, like be positive. If
Hmm.
when you're troubleshooting, man, just get angry at people. They're good people down there. They really
Yeah.
are. And
Well, and I think I would like to say that most anybody is trying to just do their job and they want to help.
mhm,
So I don't think anybody is out there trying to be like they don't
yeah,
feel like they're just not going to help you, you know.
yeah,
If they are, then they shouldn't be in that job.
yeah,
But I think for the most part, everybody that, any of the techs that we see on Worldwide or
hmm
are taught, are in there are so helpful. Like
yeah,
they go above and beyond for sure.
yeah, yeah. The Lapola techs have been pretty good with me.
Hmm.
When I first tried Lapola out, they came to the job site, and I was all for them coming to the job site because, like, I'm
Hmm.
like thinking, if I'm gonna spray a new foam, I want them to be there to show me dialing this foam in,
Right.
and having them there
Hmm.
was great. And you know, it's good foam. I feel like I'm addicted to Lapola because it's got such a fast turnaround time.
Hmm.
It's got a 2-hour reentry on their 4G. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I sprayed this basement a couple days ago, and I promise you, by the time I cleaned up and had everything put away, I mean, it
Hmm.
was maybe a half an hour, maybe an hour of cleanup, and I didn't smell anything.
Wow.
And there was one fan down in the basement and a couple of heaters.
Hmm.
And of course, I left the back door open the whole time, but I mean, to not smell anything after like that short of time is pretty amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm addicted to it for that reason. It's a little expensive, but it's a good foam. I haven't had any problems with it.
Hmm.
Dialing it in is everything. I've pretty much figured out the sweet spot on the temperatures. Um, but
Yeah, and I think because I've seen that too in the group in different groups and people talking about dialing it in, and I think maybe people get frustrated so fast
yeah,
that maybe
yeah,
they don't give it that chance to kind of figure it out, just to
yeah,
like take a step back and figure it out.
yeah, yeah. I went through quite a few sets of their foam
Hmm.
because it's different. Everything sprays so differently. I can't set my temperatures the same for Geico 1 pass as I can for Lapola 4G. It's
Right.
different. And then
Yeah.
UPC is different. I sprayed their foam
Hmm.
before all the hype, before things really took off
Mm.
for
Hmm.
UPC. Like people really didn't know what was going on with it, and
Yeah.
and it was good foam.
Hmm.
I didn't have any problem. It was good foam.
Yeah.
Open and closed cell, I tried a little bit of it, and then I tried some natural polymers before they changed their chemical compositions.
Hmm.
I tried several sets from SPI, which is very good foam. It's
Hmm.
very sprayable. Uh, SPI makes some good insulation as well. So,
Right.
um, and so I tried a Demilec open cell for doing interior walls.
Hmm.
That was all right. It was kind of expensive, but it was okay. I
Right.
actually ruined a good amount of that foam, most
Oh,
of that
okay.
set. After I did this job, I
Yeah.
ruined it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that's one of
Well,
those
and
stupid
now
things.
now they're all going to be under one roof too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's interesting.
Lapola, Demilec, and
Yeah,
who's the third? Was there a third one?
um, Icing Lapola, Demilec, well, Huntsman bought them. So
Right.
Huntsman, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's going to be interesting to see what happens now.
It's interesting because when I was at this coatings conference, a guy from
Hmm.
Huntsman was there, and I'm like, hey man, what was the deal with this set of Geico 1 pass I got? And I'm like, my ISO was like something was wrong, and I got a new set of ISO, and when I got
Hmm.
that new set of ISO, it sprayed like a dream. But I
Mm.
had like I don't want to say it was the wrong ISO, but something was going on with it, and but they corrected that. They sent me a new thing, and man, it
Hmm.
sprayed beautiful.
Yeah.
And so he explained to me what was going on with it. There was something that happened or something. I don't know what the deal was,
Yeah.
but no big deal.
Yeah, it's always
So
interesting when you get those mergers and buyouts and people get in like then all the like we'll get Clemens on a roll. He'll be doing his conspiracy theory
hmm
stuff,
stirring the pot. Anything I
right?
re-
It's all
anything I read from that guy, I just like That's probably not true.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
From what I've
I just kind
heard,
of wait.
he's very different in person than he is online. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, he
yeah,
always gets the conversation going in some direction.
yeah.
But
Interesting.
it's always interesting when those things happen. And I mean, I think we all know at the end of the day, eventually that stuff always is going to happen, right? Because
Yeah,
that's how big businesses, that's what they end up doing. So we'll
yeah,
see
do
what
their thing.
happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But what would you? Okay, so I guess we'll say, because we've been on here for almost an hour. So
yeah.
what would you say? What, I guess I already asked you that. I was going to say, what were your biggest takeaways? What would be something you would say to somebody who's wanting to get started, and
Oh man,
you're fairly new, so what are your biggest things that you would suggest to them just to kind of wrap
really,
everything up?
yeah, just really know the market that you're trying to get into, and
Hmm.
I mean, really know that, who are your competitors? What are the prices that they're quoting people?
Hmm.
The high and the low prices that they're quoting people, and how many competitors, what the demand is, what kind of, what's construction like? Like around us here, I mean, we have some of the fastest growing um, city in the nation. It's like number 13, right? A few
Hmm.
miles away from me. It's like super fast growing, but I have a lot of competitors too. But so know the market, really know the market,
Hmm.
and then also, you know, if you don't have to buy something brand new. I mean, if you do commit to this, I mean, um, spend some time working with another contractor. Patrick Mahoney offered, for people to come out and see how he operates for
Hmm.
a couple of days, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Knowing the market, seeing how to run a spray foam business, and then the equipment. Do you need something brand new? Do you need a $90,000, $100,000 rig? You probably
Hmm.
don't. You know,
Right.
if you understand and have a good understanding of it, I mean, you really need to know how to do maintenance,
Hmm.
marketing, everything, sales,
Yeah.
accounting. I mean, I
Yeah.
have an awesome wife that's been huge support in doing all the accounting stuff.
Oh, okay. She does the behind the
Really,
scenes stuff.
and she loves math. So if
Oh,
there's building
that's,
plans that I don't like the looks of, I just say,
yeah.
here you go.
You lucked out. I am terrible. I am a terrible math
She
person,
loves
like
math.
awful, but good. That's a good person to have.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
that's my weakness is math. So,
Yeah.
but and then just know the market,
Hmm.
really know how to do that, and find somebody to work with for a while. Seriously, so that you can see
Yeah.
how hard it is. It's not like
Hmm.
you're just going to go pull the hose out and pull the trigger and it's a paycheck. It's beyond that.
Right.
It's like running half a marathon by the end of the day, if it's
Right.
especially in the summer. I mean, uh,
Keith Keith Bowie just commented and said, "Good point. Making large payments when getting
yeah,
started is real
yeah.
pressure." Yeah.
It's too much pressure, and that's why people are going belly up. The guy that's
Yeah.
maybe 4 miles away from me selling his rig for forty-five
Yeah.
thousand dollars. I mean, he probably spent, I'd say, 60 to 80 on it.
Wow.
How do you? I mean, that's the problem is people are buying brand new equipment. Brand new equipment are for the guys that have been successful, and
Hmm.
they need another rig and they need it now. You know, I bought mine brand new, but I also bought it bare bones so that I can customize it later. After I get
Right.
going. It was more important that I knew what I was doing, that I had no rig payment, so that I didn't have to have that pressure. Like I said, I'd
Right.
be happy spraying one house a month. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
leave me
That
alone after that.
I think
Yeah.
that is an excellent point, because that is really, people want to have all the brand new,
Oh
state of
man.
the art. It's, they don't
Mhm.
do the baby steps to get to
Yeah.
the state of the art thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure obviously that would be everybody's goal, is to have
Yeah.
that beautiful rig and it's decked
Yeah.
out and it's got everything in there, but
Yeah.
you have to, it's baby steps, and
Yeah.
it's
You
a
just you
lot of time.
just buy what you need as you need it, and don't buy it
Yeah.
on credit. You know, like I
Right.
said, I worked 20 years saving money. Like,
Hmm.
so what I had, anything that I've ever had, I've had before I started this business. You know, let's put
Right.
it this way: I had money until I started a business.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and now I'm just trying to make it. You know, like make
Yeah.
money. You know, just
Hmm.
so that's big, man. Like,
Very.
just
And I
just
think again,
buying what you need as you need it.
yeah, and making, like you said, working with somebody and making the
Yeah,
connections.
making connections. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Are you in the area that you live, do you work with a lot of builders, or like do you have, I don't know where I'm from, it's like called like there's Chamber of Commerce, and like there's those
yeah,
different kind of like meetings that you can go to monthly kind of. Do
yeah.
you go to any of those or connect with those kind of,
Um, yeah, I
make
network with
those
some
connections?
people.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like professionals in different industries, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe not related to construction, but so I network with other people like that. I've worked with a builder that he only builds maybe one or two custom homes a year,
Mm-hmm.
and I sprayed one for him. I do a lot of smaller jobs, which I'm totally fine with that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's, big jobs are okay, but yeah, it's just, they're a lot of work and sometimes more headache. But,
Right.
you know,
And is it just
so
you,
yeah, for
or
now.
do you have it a
And
helper, or do you have
you
any?
know, my dad helps. When he's not crop
Oh,
dusting,
okay.
he'll help me. And I had my cousin helping over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I was like, dude, I don't know if I can really support you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
maybe best, so he kind of went and found something more consistent, um, and that worked out
Yeah.
well. So, but my dad's
Right.
been a huge help. I mean, that guy, I could talk about him for hours, like
Yeah.
all the stuff that guy's went through, and he just puts his head down and he just works,
Yeah.
you know. For 40 years, it's just, the guy's unbelievable. The work
Hmm.
ethic is, I'm like, dude, if I was going through some of the things he was going through, I feel like I would just quit.
Right.
Like some of the things that he's dealing with,
Hmm.
business and family shenanigans, I'd be like, man, I'd be
Yeah.
done. Forget all
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
but he's been amazing help. You know,
Oh, that's awesome.
and then of course my wife has been pretty supportive. This is the
Hmm.
only business venture that she's ever like really supported me. I'm
Right. Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. Finally, I
Yeah.
got a little support somewhere.
And you guys have, how many kids do you have?
So 3 kids.
Three
Yeah.
kids. And how old are they?
They're 14, 12, and 3.
Oh, okay. So
So I'll
all
just I'll
ages.
just say this just to give you a little laugh. I decided, I wouldn't mind having another kid. So I
Oh.
paid for my reversal and then told her.
Oh my God.
Is that awesome or what?
Oh my. You have a teenager and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow. You're a
So
brave man.
they're exciting.
That's a good range in, you get all things
The
with those
spectrum right
ages.
there. Yeah.
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 So do you often, are you away from home very often, or no, you stick
No,
within
I stay pretty local. I mean, I
yeah,
think the only time I'm looking to really get out of here is in maybe January, February.
right.
And I just hate spraying in cold weather. And
Mhm.
Eric Gladson, all them guys up north, they know
Mhm.
Tri-County Foam, Corey and his crew, and
Yeah.
Gladson. I'm like, dude, I lived in California. I know how amazing that is. Just
Mhm.
wearing a t-shirt in freaking the middle of winter. I
Mhm.
mean, oh,
Yeah.
the other day Kevin Page sent me a video or a picture of a house he was spraying, saying, yeah, it's 70 degrees in Palm Springs, getting ready
Yeah.
to spray. I'm like, man, you don't even know what winter blend foam is.
Right. And I think that it was Keith. I'm pretty sure Keith Bowie he posted a video of a guy and it was snowing and the guy's out like spraying his house or
Oh
whatever it was, and
man,
it was like, oh my God. It's like,
I
and there
hate
in
cold.
Manitoba, it's cold there. It's so cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am not a fan of winter at all.
Gets
I
you
mean,
to the beach and the ocean,
okay.
right?
Hey, listen, it's either go to California and spray or hide inside my house.
Right, there
You
you
know?
go. You could go and work with Rusty. You can go on the road and travel all of California with Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can't imagine how many miles he puts on his
Right?
equipment, man.
I
He's
know.
traveling all over, you know?
He is. He's always on the roads, that guy.
Yeah.
He
So,
really is. But so
well,
your wife is that does she work outside the home as well, or is
um,
she
I
at home?
wanted, I didn't want my kids indoctrinated by the public school system, so
Right.
she's homeschooling, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I said, back to the math thing, I said, hey,
Yeah.
listen, we need to focus on math, you know?
Right. Get them good in math.
Math and science, that's where the careers are, you know?
Yeah.
The money is, you know?
Yeah. That's not an easy thing to do. My brother and his wife, and they have done that with their kids as well. And then I
Yeah.
think once the girls got to, they kind of, as they get older, so about grade 9-ish, they kind of start deciding, do they want to still do homeschooling, or do they want to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
they have a school that integrates kids that were homeschooled
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the school system, and so they
Yeah.
all kind of make that decision. Those girls make that decision when they're ready to go, if they
Yeah.
are. And so I
And
think
yeah,
their older three are in now, all in school. So
it's public school. Yeah.
I've always admired people that can do that, because
Mm.
that is a hard.
Hey, listen, her gifting
Ooh.
is organizing,
Yeah,
and so this place is like a schoolroom, you know, and I
yeah,
said, hey, I need you to come out to my garage and help me figure out organizing my garage. You know,
right.
it's
That's
just
a challenge, but I
and
mean, and working with you, which is awesome. So do you guys find that that is an easy thing to do?
um yeah, it's actually, yeah, it hasn't been bad.
Hmm.
It's worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
And you know, the kids go to school, like a school for homeschoolers,
yeah,
1 day a week,
hmm,
and then she. But it feels like a well-functioning machine, you know,
yeah, yeah.
so far.
I think it's important that you support each other and you do those
Yeah,
things together, and
yeah,
it's a team. Like
yeah,
like that's a legitimate team. You're
yeah.
working with little people. it,
Yeah,
it takes a
she's been
village.
awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. But do you have
So,
anything you want to add to wrap everything up?
um,
I'll just say first, thank you for coming. I'm so
yeah.
glad you came on.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on
Yeah.
and you know get Len Meether on there, Nate Millman,
Yes.
and get Dudley on there. You
I
know,
know there's a number of people. I'm
see if
like, okay, you guys got to get on here, because we're like, it's now booking into February.
maybe we
So
can pressure him to get on there. You
we'll
know, we
get
want to
him
hear
on
what that
here.
guy. The guy's brilliant. You know.
Yeah. We'll get him on here. I know I've been talking to Wendell a little bit, Gossett too, trying to get him on. I haven't bugged him for a little while, but
Yeah.
I'll have to get back on that. But we've got coming up, we've got a number of people in this. So we've got hopefully Dave George. He's going to get back to me.
Mm.
He's coming
Yeah.
again next week.
Oh,
Chris
cool.
Cullum, Rusty's coming back on to kind of round out
Yeah.
the year. And then in the
Yeah.
month of January, we've got all women coming on.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like all
so
the women
it's
of spray foam. Sure.
right. It's going to
Yeah.
be finally, we're going to have some ladies come on and talk with us, so that are
That's
in the
cool.
industry. So I'm excited about that too. So
That that's necessary. You
it
know.
is necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
It's
was
very
cool to
necessary.
see them, they got into the magazine and they had those
Yeah.
articles written. They were so excited, and it was nice that, there's a little bit of a spotlight put on them. So
Yeah.
we're going to see more of those ladies in 2020.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No,
Well,
I
thanks
think
for
it's
having
good.
me on, and thanks
Yeah.
to everybody on Spray Foam Worldwide. It contributed. Everybody on there's, that's posted has contributed something
Hmm. Yeah.
to my success. So I mean, I really
Oh,
owe
it's,
a lot of credit to Spray Foam Worldwide, Polyurea Worldwide, and
yeah.
everything to do with you guys. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, okay, we'll give our little signal to our man behind the scenes. Thank you, Mike, for running
Thanks,
everything.
thanks, guys.
All right. We
Appreciate
will
you.
catch you guys all next week. And
Yeah,
that's it. Thanks again, Scott. I appreciate
awesome.
you being on.
Yeah, thank you. Okay,
Okay.
see ya.
Okay. Have a good week.